Who are you when you're no longer operating from fear, lack, or survival mode? Hey, it's your girl, Sherri Somers Bell, and I want to unpack that really quick. When you're not operating in fear, when you're not operating in lack, when you're not operating in survival mode, who do you show up as? And if you're listening to this, I know you're saying, Sherri, actually, I can't remember the day that I'm not acting from fear, acting from survival mode. And I know this all too well because that used to be my story for 40 plus years. Yeah, you heard that right. So you're not by yourself at all by a long shot. But there will come a pivotal moment, as it did in my life, where you will say to yourself, am I happy with who I currently am? You will say to yourself, how long am I waiting? Am I waiting for another 40 plus years to start finding out who I am, who she is? The woman that can think at a higher level, believe at a higher level, create certainty, and trust herself to make the next right move. So I want to ask you again, who are you when you're not operating from fear, lack, or survival mode? And let me ask you a question. Do you think you're worth finding out who she looks like, who this person look like? Because I truly think that you do. It is worth finding out how you operate when you're not operating those three limiting beliefs that I just mentioned. What would you create? What would your mindset be? What would you attract? What would the opportunities be that come to you? And what would be the revenue that come to your business when you stop operating from that space? Now, I want to unpack something right now because the minute you start believing in that, what comes up for you is the imposter syndrome, all of this stuff that comes up as it should, because you're operating from a place that you've never probably tried on, right? So I get it. Trust me, I get it. Now, one of the fears that came up for me when I asked myself these questions was, well, what does it look like for my spouse? What does it look like for my business? What does it look like for my client? When I step into my greatness, where trust myself to make the right decision, when I trust myself to live in certainty, when I operate from certainty, even not knowing the unknown, when I operate from that space, who am I? When I start operating from that, what happened to the environment that I'm around? What does that look like? And life will force you to give you no other choice but to operate from it, because you either sink or swim. I was speaking on stage at an event, and right after I got off stage, there was a gentleman that came on, and he ended his speech with these words. And their words resonate with me for so long, because when we think about that, we think about this is a next awkward thing that we have to do. When stepping into having certainty in the unknown is an awkward thing, is something that we call hard. And when the gentleman end his speech, he says, you know what? Choose your hard. He says being married is hard, but being single is also hard. Choose your hard. Being broke is hard, but having money is hard. Being poor is hard. Being rich is hard. Having no clients is hard. Having clients is hard. So choose your hard. What marketing your business is hard. Not marketing your business is hard. And let me define the word hard for you. In my opinion, and in the life that I've lived so far, I realize hard is only we're making something bigger than what it needs to be. Sometimes something is hard because it's unknown. Right? When you're driving a car for the first time, you're like, oh my God, how will I ever learn how to drive? That looks hard. But guess what? Now you're doing it. Now you grab your keys, go to the store, come back, and you never think about it twice, right? But in the beginning of that, it was hard. So many of the times, the perspective that we apply to something is not necessary because it's hard. It's because it's unknown. We're not used to doing it. But truth of the matter is, when we build the muscle for it, it no longer becomes hard. It no longer becomes hard. So we got to really be careful the words that we use to define things, because it'll stay hard because we keep calling it hard. Right? That's number one. That's the lesson I want you to get from this. The second lesson I want you to get from this is also understand that when you make that decision, when you decide that you want more, when you decide to ask God for more because he's not on a budget, when you decide to say yes to yourself at operating at a higher level. I was on the phone with a lady. She took my masterclass on how to craft a message to get people to say yes and buy. She took that masterclass, and then she took the opportunity for a 30-minute strategy session. And in that strategy session, she kept sharing with me that she I asked her how she was getting clients. And she said, well, you know what? I was meeting people, and that person would see that I am who I say I am. And then that person would introduce me to somebody else. And that other person introduced me to somebody else. And then it just kind of go from there. And I said, interesting. What does that look like for you? Like, what does that space look like for you? And she's like, yeah, that's how I was meeting my people. Like, that's just how I was meeting them. And I said, just so I'm clear, you're meeting somebody, building a relationship, then that person refer you to another relationship. And I'm like, well, where does the revenue come in? Because there's so many different steps before you can actually get to that revenue. Where does that revenue come in for you? Because it just seems like you're doing several different steps to get to the conversion and to get to the yes. And what I said to her, I said, well, what if, just let me play devil's advocate for a second. What if you just believe and operate from the space of someone can see you, hear your words, and be magnetically attracted to what you do, and you convert them and they say yes to you? What if you didn't have to wait weeks and months to build relationships, but what you have is so magnetically powerful and people want it now, and you create a system that give you the ability for people to hear you and understand why they need this thing now, and they're magnetically attracted to you. So long story short, they meet you on social media today, you host a masterclass, and tomorrow they say yes to you. What does that look like? What if you operate from that belief system and everything you do from that belief system instead of what you're saying right now, thinking that it takes forever for somebody to say yes to you? Because that got to be tiring to keep thinking in that space and waiting that one day your results will happen. And what I wanted to get her to understand, which I don't know if she really see it, is that she's really repelling her money based on the belief of how she's operating from. Her belief is, I need to nurture people long enough for them to become my friends, then refer me to a higher level. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, that's not how it work. That's not how it work. I say you need to get in spaces that believe the idea behind believing that you are the answer and not the option. Believing that you have something that people gravitate to and need to solve right now. You need to invest in that space that keep you believing in that constantly, because what happened is people will now magnetically attract themselves to you and says, hey, yes, I want to work with you. And we left. She went her way and I went my way, but it was just on my heart and soul that there's so many people believing that they need step one and step two, the strategy, when realizing that the way they make decision, which is based on what they believe, is what's repelling their money. And because you're not operating from a place of conviction, because you're not operating from a place of where they trust themselves, no matter what strategy, no matter what tactics that they're doing, it always falls short on the outcome, because they're not starting with the belief of trusting themselves. They're not starting with a belief that I need to be in spaces that speak this, not just within me, but my environment also need to speak this as well, and learn how to communicate and craft that into the marketplace, into my reels, into my talking heads, into my emails, into my master classes, into my challenges, when I'm doing it on stage, when I'm meeting people at the store, when I'm meeting people one-on-one on my Zoom. And because they miss that, They're like, oh, I just need to know one more strategy. Just need to know one more tactic. So the truth of the matter is, no, baby, you just need to believe bigger. You need to ask God for more. He's not on a budget. And I validated that when I went to church on Sunday, where my pastor said 5 words that literally transform what and confirm what I've been saying this whole time. Now, if you've been following my playlist on YouTube, you know I've been talking all about self-trust and all about having that belief and certainty even in the unknown, even when it get awkward, even when the bank account is telling you something different. I've been talking about this constantly. And something my pastor said at church on Sunday, that those 5 words literally continue to confirm what I've been saying. And he said, stop living like you're losing. Stop living like you're losing. It baffled me how people say they have faith and believe in God and believe what God can do. But if you follow their life, if you follow the way they believe, if you follow the action that they take, because your action is based on what you believe. If you follow that, it will tell you your fruits. It will tell you your fruits. So stop living like you're losing. And what that means is make a decision to go in a higher level, to be in spaces that speak in a higher level, and activate your activity, your revenue activity from that space. Make it your business, make it intentional to operate from that space. I have this thing about myself that I will talk to a person because of my emotional intelligence. I will talk to someone and I will listen to what they're saying. And when I realize that they're not even in a space to understand the logic and the common sense that I'm saying, that their IQ just hasn't got there yet, I stop, because there's nothing you can tell them for them to make sense of anything. So even if you feel bad for them and want to take them out of their low vibration, low self-esteem, sometimes there's nothing you can say to them, because that's not your job. Even if the blueprint print is clearly showing like, girl, you're dumb. And you're like, your mind is like, I can't say that. Oh, Sherri, I can't say that. And I'm like, I can't keep talking to you because you're lowering my IQ. I just can't keep talking to you. like hell, you're making me feel dumb talking to you, because 1 + 1 is 2, right? Or 11, based on how you're elevating. And speaking of that, when I make that conscious decision, that because I'm looking at the person and I'm saying, you're worthy of more. Do you realize? Do you realize that you're worthy of more? Like, do you realize that you're not walking in the light? You're not being a better person. Are you happy with your life? And when I realized that their level of conviction is not there, they don't realize that all the negative things that has been happening in their life, like life is already beat them up, so there's no reason for me to beat them up, right? Life is already hitting them, and I'm like, but you chose that. The decisions you made, God had you at that crossroad. Life beat you up, but you can't give life so much credit. You decided to do what you did. And when you decided to do what you did, life started beating you up. And then you become a parasite to other people, breathing on them because of the bad decisions that you made. And when it doesn't turn out the way you turn out, you blame other people for the decision you make. So when I was realized they're not even getting it. They're not even getting what I was saying. So I'm like, okay, let me let me move on, because my level, my emotional intelligence sometimes just it ain't working. And when you reach to that point, you have to make a decision to say, hold on. Girl, you're wasting your good pearls. So, but I want this for you too. I want you to understand that when you made that decision, here's what happened. Because your mind is telling you that people around, like, oh my God, what's going to happen when I decided to walk in my elevation? My words are going to sound ill to other people. When I decide to walk in my conviction, the things I do, the things I say is going to sound weird to other people. So I'm going to lose some friends. I may lose my spouse. I may lose. What does that have to do? Oh my God, I don't know if I can handle. That's too much for me. So, cause that's how I was feeling when I decided that fear will not be my story. Survival will not be my story. Lack will not be my story. Abundance will be my story. Prosperity will be my story. Wealth will be my story. Legacy will be my story. When I decided that everything belongs to my Father and therefore it belongs to me, that I can seek and I shall find, knock and the door shall be open. When I decided to walk in that conviction, when I decided to start living like I am winning. Don't get me wrong. There was things inside of me internally like, okay, so what happened to the people around you? What happened to your friends, your spouse, your business, your job, whatever? What does that look like? And I'm going to tell you what happened with that in that moment, because it is a bit of awkwardness, hesitation there, that when you start stepping in certainty off the unknown, that you're going to lose some people. And truth of the matter is, in my case, and it doesn't always happen, everybody started elevating based on the decision that I make. I started looking at my people in a different way. My spouse started elevating, where I'm like, hey, listen, this is where I'm going. Either you or get off the pot, right? This is where I'm going. And I'm not stopping to look back. So either you get on board or you get off. And that was like one of the things that stood out to me, because I refused to settle for less. I've refused to settle less. Not when God says everything, a cattle on 1,000 hills belongs to me, belongs to us. I refuse to settle for less. So if you want to, you good. And I think that's a conversation you have to have with your spouse, with your friends, with your girlfriends, with your clients. And when I started doing that, I started having clients that are closing, exceeding 100K in 3 months. The year's not even over yet. 100, already hitting their 100K. I started having clients who call themselves introvert and very quiet and don't want to put themselves out there. And in 2 weeks, having a conversation with them, the next 2 weeks came up with 5K in their bank account. Started having clients who could not even come on a call because they were closing so much people in one day. In one day. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying to you, when you decide to elevate, when you decide to not allow people to pull you back who's not even there where you are, when you decide, what happened is the people who are meant for you will stay there, will elevate with you. And the people who are not, at least you get to know now. At least you get to know now, because the people you left behind, you listen, it's not like you didn't try. You asked them, they just never came. Because when you're elevating, your circles get different. The people around you get different. I was looking at my girlfriends today and I'm like, man, how did I end up with high level women who are at the top of their game and what they do? I have another girlfriend, she's finished up her real doctorate, not the doctorate everybody around here calling themselves. And then I have another girlfriend who is going back to school for anesthesiologist, and the other girlfriend, she's a school teacher, and I love her dearly, and she has a way of helping me just communicate things, and the fact that she's working in that space. And then just, even I have to give credit to even my husband, who just kind of like, listen, I see what you were saying now, I get it, and I'm not going to be left behind. Like, it's just one of those things where life have to hit you for you to be like, listen, I got you. I hear what you're saying now. It didn't make sense before, but I'm making sense now. So don't ever be afraid to step up because of what other people are going to think. Because the truth of the matter is, the people around you who is ready, who will see your light, they will want to step up with you. And if they don't, great, because you don't get to waste your time with people who is not ready. And then I can want to share this last part with you, is when you're walking in that spirit of conviction, when you're walking in that spirit of living like you're winning all the time, not just in one area, but in all the areas of your life, where you show up, where you spend your time, who gets your energy? because I had to cut that off too. Who gets your energy when you're living in that space and in that moment? What happened is that you started going in a whole new community that believe in the same way as you. So it's okay to drop people off as you go. It's okay to evaluate your circle and spaces. And as you do that in your life and in your business and in the strategy that you do and speaking in that manner, walking in that manner, you realize, like, oh my gosh, like, what took me so long? What took me so long to believe bigger? What took me so long in believing that I can ask for more because my God is not on a budget? What took me so long to be showing up as the answer and not the option? What took me so long in believing that I'm worthy of a transaction because I create transformation? Woo! What took me so long in understanding that greatness is not built in isolation? What took me so long? I have been through so many things. I tried to move me from this belief, and every time, the conviction is so strong in walking in the power of certainty, even without knowing the unknown, in living a life that looks like I'm winning, believe that I'm winning, that the blessings are so big that I can't avoid it. The blessings for my clients getting their financial wins, not just mental wins. But let's be clear, they had to get a mental breakthrough before the financial breakthrough. Oh, Jesus. They had to get a mental breakthrough first before the financial breakthrough take place. Because the financial breakthrough is usually like that catching up. Because you have to get it mentally first. There's a clarity, that mental clarity that comes first before the revenue comes. But guess what? It requires you to be in spaces that think this way, believe this way, show up as this way. That's what it requires. That's why we have our next move community. That's why we have spaces like that where you're get the support in deciding how to move. That you're not stuck in the indecisiveness. So I want to challenge you, as I always do when you get off. I want to challenge you in what is something that you've been wanting to do, but you've been allowing the idea of this is hard, I can't afford it, or walking in that survival lack, fear that's been stopping you. What is that thing that you know that you're supposed to do? And when I'm talking to people, the thing that they're avoiding is exactly what the thing they need to be doing. The thing that you're making up an excuse of why you can't do it, why you can't invest in that coach, is exactly what's stopping you. There's a lady that was telling me, she was like, I want to be able to speak. And I'm like, and she's like, well, where are you getting so many speak? I say, most of the time my speaking comes from the people I've invested in. Like I stand out as their clients, and then they invite me to speak on their stage, or something to where I'm paid to speak on stage, or they see me somewhere, and so on and so forth. I said, and she's like, well, where do you get your clients from? I said, my clients who have been under my belief system and have studied the power of certainty, they get first dibs on my stages because they have already operated from that space. So there's not just anybody coming on. It's really operating from the space of they're invested in themselves. So that tells me something about them. They are walking in that belief system that they learn inside of our program. And they have generated revenue, which tells me that they have activated, not just think about it, but taken action towards it. And that's why they get to operate on my stage. That's why, because they embody what we teach. They embody, they live it, they walk in it, they show up as it every single day. So that's why cash flow is never an issue. Abundance is never an issue. That's why opportunity is never an issue for them, because they walk in the power of certainty, even when the unknown is awkward, when they're not sure. But one thing they are sure about, they're certain that whatever decision they make, it is the right decision. And they show up as that because they know that everything always work out for their good. Everything. And I want you to get that space as well. I want you to find that space for you. I want to invite you into our next move to feel that same yes, to feel that same operating from that same space as well. All right, so I want to challenge you to wear the armor of certainty. I have been saying this forever I have a whole playlist on YouTube just dedicated to this season of creating certainty in the unknown. And I hope you've been learning that and activating what I'm saying, like making decision from, listen, this thing I said yes to. Yes, I don't know the unknown of it, but I know because I decide I'm going to operate and make every decision from here on out from that yes that I said to myself. And I'm going to show up as that person because I know even though the unknown is unclear to me, I know at the end, when the smoke clears, it always work out for my good. I want you to wear that like an armor. That's all I got for you today. It's your girl, Sherri Somers. Talk to you later.